Most men believe women stop noticing them after 60. But what if I told you that the moment you walk into a room, a woman's brain quietly scans 5 things about you in less than 3 seconds? And the truth might surprise you. I'm going to speak to you not as a critic, but as a psychologist who has spent years observing the quiet, unspoken language between men and women. The kind of signals people send without realizing it. The kind that shape attraction long before a word is spoken. Many men over 60 assume attraction is a young man's game. They believe women only notice youth, muscles, or status. But that belief is one of the biggest psychological misunderstandings I see in my work. Because the female brain doesn't search for youth alone, it searches for signals. Signals of character, signals of stability, signals of emotional gravity. And the first signal a woman notices is something most men ignore completely. Your eyes. Not their color, not whether they're perfectly symmetrical. What women notice is the presence inside them. When a man has lived long enough, his eyes carry something powerful: experience. Women instinctively look for whether your eyes feel calm or restless, confident or apologetic. A man who constantly looks down, avoids eye contact, or scans the room nervously communicates uncertainty. Not intentionally, but psychologically, it sends a message. I don't feel secure in my place here. But when a man over 60 holds steady eye contact, not aggressive, not intimidating, just grounded, it creates a strange effect. Women feel it immediately. It signals emotional control, life experience. A man who has faced storms and survived them. And there is something deeply attractive about that. The second thing women notice almost instantly is your posture. This may sound simple, but it reveals more about a man's internal psychology than almost anything else. A lifetime of stress, responsibilities, and disappointments can quietly bend a man forward. Shoulders drop, the chest collapses, the head tilts downward. But when a man stands upright, even if his body isn't perfect, something shifts in the way women perceive him. An upright posture sends a message the brain interprets as strength, dignity, and self-respect. Women don't consciously say, "Oh, his spine alignment is attractive." That's not how the mind works. Instead, the brain interprets posture as emotional stability. A man who carries himself upright appears calm, disciplined, and composed. And those qualities are deeply magnetic, especially to women who have already experienced the chaos of immature relationships. The third thing women notice is something most men never think about: your hands. Yes, your hands. Psychologically, hands reveal how a man moves through the world. They tell stories. Are they calm or fidgeting? Steady or restless? Women often notice the way a man uses his hands while speaking. A man who gestures calmly appears thoughtful. A man who constantly fiddles with objects appears anxious. But there's something deeper here. Hands represent capability. For centuries, human psychology has associated strong, steady hands with protection, craftsmanship, and competence. Even today, those ancient signals still influence attraction. Women notice whether your handshake feels confident, whether your movements feel deliberate, whether your hands look like they belong to someone who has built things, solved problems, and handled life. Not perfection, presence. And here is the quiet truth many men miss. Women over 30, 40, and 50 are no longer chasing fantasy. They are searching for emotional safety. That's why these signals matter far more than perfect looks. Your eyes reveal emotional depth. Your posture reveals self-respect. Your hands reveal capability. And when those signals align, something subtle happens in the female mind. Respect begins before attraction, and respect is the soil where real attraction grows. But there are 2 other body signals women notice even faster. Signals that instantly reveal whether a man over 60 feels powerful in his own life or quietly defeated by it. And most men have no idea they're revealing them. The fourth thing women notice about a man over 60 happens before he even speaks. It happens in the way he walks. A man's walk is a psychological fingerprint. It reveals far more about his inner world than his clothes, his money, or even his words. When a woman sees a man walking into a room, her brain instinctively analyzes the rhythm of his movement. Not consciously, instinctively. Is he rushing as if he's chasing something? Is he dragging his feet like life has exhausted him? Or is he moving with calm, deliberate presence? A slow, steady walk communicates something incredibly powerful: control. Men who move calmly signal that they are not desperate for attention, approval, or validation. And the female mind reads this immediately as confidence. Confidence at 60 does not look like confidence at 25. It is quieter, less performative, more grounded. Young men often try to dominate a room. Older men who truly understand themselves simply occupy it. There's a difference. When a man walks with balanced steps, shoulders relaxed, head level, and movements unhurried, women often feel a subtle curiosity. They may not even understand why, but something about that rhythm feels stable. And stability is incredibly attractive. In psychology, we call this nonverbal authority. It's the ability to project calm leadership without saying a word. A man who rushes everywhere unintentionally signals anxiety. A man who shuffles or avoids eye contact while walking may appear unsure of himself, but a man who walks with quiet control creates a completely different emotional impression. Women feel safe around that energy. It feels predictable, grounded, and mature. And that brings us to the fifth body part women notice almost immediately: your smile. Now, this is where many men misunderstand attraction. They think women are looking for perfect teeth, movie star charm, or exaggerated friendliness, but that's not what the female brain is actually evaluating. What women notice is authenticity. A forced smile, one that appears too quickly, too widely, or too often, can feel unnatural. It communicates that a man may be trying too hard to impress. But a relaxed, genuine smile creates something much more powerful. It signals emotional ease. Women instinctively look for men who are comfortable with themselves. A natural smile communicates that you are not carrying bitterness, resentment, or unresolved anger from the past. And unfortunately, many men over 60 carry quiet emotional scars from divorce, betrayal, loneliness, or disappointment. Those experiences shape facial expressions over time. A man who has allowed bitterness to take root often carries tension in his face. His smile becomes rare, tight, or guarded. But a man who has processed life's challenges and found peace within himself radiates something very different. His smile is slower, warmer, unforced, and that warmth creates immediate emotional safety. You see, attraction at this stage of life is not about excitement alone, it's about emotional comfort. Women notice whether your smile feels like sunlight or like a wall. And here's the fascinating psychological truth. When a man's eyes are calm, his posture is strong, his hands are steady, his walk is grounded, and his smile is genuine. Women don't see an aging man. They see a centered man, a man who knows himself, a man who has lived long enough to understand life, yet carries himself with dignity rather than regret. And that combination is extremely rare. Many men grow older, but very few grow deeper. Women can sense the difference immediately. But there is something even more powerful than all 5 of these signals combined, something that silently multiplies their effect. And almost no one talks about it, because it isn't a body part. It's an energy that makes a man unforgettable the moment he enters a room, even if he says nothing at all. There is something most men misunderstand about attraction after 60. They think women are studying their wrinkles, their hairline, their weight, quietly measuring what time has taken away. But the female mind rarely works like that. What women truly read is emotional energy, and the body simply becomes the messenger. A man can have gray hair, slower steps, and lines across his face, and still create a powerful presence that pulls attention without effort. While another man, younger and stronger, can walk into the same room and become invisible. Why? Because women are not just looking at body parts. They are reading the story behind them. When a woman looks at a man's face, her brain subconsciously asks a question most men never realize exists. Has life made this man bitter or wise? Your face answers that question long before your words ever do. Over decades, every experience leaves its mark. Stress tightens the jaw, anger hardens the brow, regret clouds the eyes, and slowly, a man's face begins to carry emotional residue from his past. But something remarkable happens when a man has learned to make peace with his life. His face softens, not weaker, softer. There is a calm behind his expressions. His reactions are slower, measured, thoughtful. And women notice this instantly because emotional stability has become rare in the modern world, especially in dating. Many women today have experienced relationships filled with unpredictability, men who were charming at first but emotionally chaotic underneath. So when a woman encounters a man whose presence feels calm, balanced, and emotionally grounded, her nervous system relaxes. That feeling is powerful. It's not excitement. It's deeper than that. It's trust beginning to form. Another thing women notice, often without realizing it, is the way a man listens. Yes, listening is visible. You can see it in a man's eyes, in the way he tilts his head slightly, in the stillness of his body when someone speaks. Most people listen only to respond. Their mind is already preparing the next sentence before the other person finishes speaking, but a man who truly listens does something different. He becomes still. Women notice this instantly because very few people offer that level of attention anymore. When a man listens fully, he communicates respect, he communicates patience, he communicates that the moment matters. And here's something fascinating from psychological research. When someone feels deeply heard, their brain releases chemicals associated with emotional bonding. In other words, listening creates connection faster than impressing. Many men spend years trying to say the perfect thing to attract a woman, but the truth is far simpler. Presence attracts. A man who is comfortable with silence, who doesn't rush conversations, who allows space for someone else's thoughts to unfold, creates a magnetic emotional environment. Women feel safe in that space. And safety, psychologically speaking, is one of the strongest foundations of attraction later in life. Because by the time a woman reaches her 40s, 50s, or 60s, she is no longer searching for chaos disguised as passion. She is searching for peace. And when a man's face shows wisdom instead of bitterness, when his listening shows patience instead of ego, when his energy feels calm instead of restless, his entire body begins communicating something powerful. This man understands life. That signal alone can outweigh youth, money, or appearance. But there is one final truth that ties everything together. A truth that explains why some men become more attractive with age, while others slowly disappear into the background. And it has nothing to do with how the body looks. It has everything to do with how a man sees himself. Here is the truth most men discover far too late. Women do not decide how attractive you are. You do, not with words, not with bragging, but with the silent belief you carry about yourself every single day. By the time a man reaches 60, something subtle has usually happened inside him. Life has tested him. Careers have risen and fallen. Relationships have succeeded or broken apart. Friends have disappeared. Dreams have changed. And slowly, without realizing it, many men begin shrinking inside. They walk into rooms expecting to be ignored. They assume younger men are more desirable. They begin believing their time has passed. And the human brain is incredibly sensitive to belief. When a man quietly believes he is invisible, his body reflects that belief. His shoulders drop slightly. His voice softens. His movements become hesitant. His energy withdraws from the room. Women notice this instantly, not because they are judging him, but because humans naturally respond to emotional signals. A man who doubts his value unknowingly tells the world to overlook him. But the opposite is equally powerful. When a man truly accepts himself, his age, his story, his scars, his wisdom, his body begins to move differently. He no longer competes with younger men. He doesn't try to prove anything. He simply stands inside the life he has lived. And that creates something rare: presence. Presence is the quiet authority that comes from self-acceptance. It's the reason some men walk into a room and people naturally make space for them, even if they aren't the loudest voice or the richest person there. Women feel this presence because it communicates emotional maturity. It tells them this man is not desperate for validation. He is not trying to impress everyone around him. He is simply comfortable being who he is. And comfort with oneself is magnetic. Think about the 5 signals we talked about. The eyes reveal calm awareness. The posture reveals dignity. The hands reveal steadiness. The walk reveals control. The smile reveals warmth. But all 5 of those signals come from one deeper source: self-respect. Without self-respect, those signals collapse. Eye contact disappears. Posture weakens. Smiles become forced. But when a man genuinely respects himself, those signals appear naturally, effortlessly. This is why some men become more attractive with age. They stop chasing approval. They stop pretending. They stop performing. Instead, they begin living honestly. And that honesty creates a powerful psychological effect on the people around them. Women feel it. Conversations feel easier. Eye contact lasts longer. Curiosity appears where indifference once existed. Not because the man changed his appearance, but because he changed the way he carries his life. And here is something important I want you to remember. Attraction is not about trying to make every woman notice you. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally draws the right attention. A man who respects himself. A man who moves with calm presence. A man who carries his years with quiet pride instead of apology. Those men never disappear with age. In many ways, they become more powerful. So let me ask you something personal before you leave. Which of these 5 signals do you think reveals the most about a man? His eyes, his posture, his hands, his walk, or his smile? Write your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what you think. And if this message made you see yourself differently, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who might need to hear this reminder today. Because sometimes the most powerful transformation in a man's life begins with a simple realization: your value doesn't disappear with age. In many ways, it finally begins to show.